Um, so I mentioned that I'll be talking about a TV show that I watched called The Queen's Gambit. It's a Netflix show, and it's about an orphan girl with an extreme intuitive ability that makes her so smart that it helps her become the best chess player in the world. Through her journey, she she becomes the best, but she struggles with normal adolescence because she's a teenage girl, a woman inequality because it takes place back in the 60s, and she struggles with addiction with drugs. So as I mentioned, it takes place in the 60s in a Cold War America. At that time, the U.S. was wanting to prove they're more superior to communist Russia, and that's kind of who the main villain or antagonist of the show is. It's Russian chess players, and one chess player he's the best of the best in the world, and he's Russian. The attention to detail is really great in this show. One scene in particular. So there's a scene. Beth Harmon, she is the main protagonist, the chess queen. She's dancing to a broadcast of a band performing on TV, and in between movie frames, you can see frames of subliminal messages of an advertisement. And that was very common back in the day. My parents have told me that, and it's happened previews for movies and anywhere that was broadcast on TV. So like this little things like that is just something I appreciate that's so accurate to the time period. Things that I noticed is like how fast young adults grow in that era. An event happens to Beth, I won't spoil too much, where she kind of has to take all these responsibilities as a young 18-year-old just out of nowhere because of a certain life event. And when you listen to it, it just sounds so crazy that like if it was 2020, an 18-year-old would have almost none of these responsibilities. So it just goes to show you that like how adults were kind of treated differently back then versus now. And I mentioned that the character struggles with addiction. What I noticed is it's how easy it was to get over-the-counter drugs back in the day that could severely mess up your brain and long-term effects. Like she could just write up a fake note, and others too could write up a fake note saying that they need this prescription, and then they just get it, and it just fucks them up. So it's crazy just how easy it was to get these really severe drugs back in the day. What I like most about the show was the use of color. To me, it seemed like any frame of the show, I could like screen grab it, and it could be like a picture I can hang up on my wall. It was just really beautiful and some great visuals. I like how well the story paced. It's a short series. It only has 7 episodes, but you see Beth Harmon develop as a person physically and emotionally, and the pacing just does it so well. And the show itself, The Queen's Gambit, is a book. It's a novel. And you can easily tell that in how it's divided up on this mini series. It's properly structured. It feels like each episode is a chapter in the story. So it's not like a story where there's a lot of cliffhangers or anything like that. And honestly, it kind of reminded me of like an anime a little bit. Because like, all these over-the-top animes are, you got to beat the best in the world. You got to be the best of the best. And you keep going up in this journey. Because, she beats the best in the state. She beats the best in the U.S. And then she competes in the world. And I love how all the competitions are kind of like single eliminations, winner take all kind of scenarios. They're like single person tournaments against other chess players. And from a sports perspective, it kind of reminds of like individualistic sports such as track and field, golf, and boxing. It's a clear picture of how good the athlete is. You can't say a team carries this individual athlete. It's full proof of display of their greatness right there because there's no team. It's just them playing. So I thought that was kind of neat. I like the competitive nature of the game that it showed on the show. Like, I just like how passionate every single character you meet is of the sport of chess. It could be a player, it can just be a simple spectator too. And it makes me want to compete for something, not chess obviously, because I'm not very great at it. And that's another thing. Like, the show kind of turns something that's kind of perceived as nerdy or lame into something very cool and sexy. Like, I would have never guessed that chess was going to be this cool going into this this show. So that was really cool. So I really recommend it. It's The Queen's Gambit. It's on Netflix. So if you have a Netflix account, you can watch it anytime.